Hey guys, welcome to my Disney Brain. Today is Saturday, July the 4th. So happy July the 4th. And we wanted to do a quick review of Hamilton, which came out on Disney Plus on yesterday. So that is going to be the content for today. I'm not going to get into a whole lot of news. Check out our Facebook page and our YouTube channel for that. We'll circle back before the end of the week and we'll do a more complete podcast as it relates to news and updates and things like that. Just as of today, we do know that Disney is still on task for opening Magic Kingdom and Animal Kingdom on July the 11th, and then Epcot and Hollywood Studios on July the 15th. We also know that Florida has a number of COVID cases outside of Texas, I think the highest in the nation, and they're hitting records every day, unfortunately. I don't know if that has to do directly with any theme parks opening because, as you know, SeaWorld and Universal and Busch Gardens have all open. Universal, from my understanding, has done the superior job in making sure that folks are compliant in terms of temperature checks and protocol. SeaWorld, not so much, but we do feel really confident that Disney is taking their time because they are going to be very thorough. Some of the resorts have opened, and Disney Springs, of course, as you know, is open. So check out our Facebook page. There is a cacophony of information there as it relates to news and updates for the parks. Check out our last two podcasts in relation to news and updates because we did go into detail about guest responsibilities as they are coming back and planning to come back to the parks. And we also talked about the Disney Pass reservations, the way that you get your reservations now and buy your tickets. So all that information is available to you on our podcast, on our Facebook page. So just have at it. And we'll be back later in the week with a little bit more detailed podcast. But today, our focus is going to be on Hamilton. So I don't know if we need to make any spoiler alerts because we're going to get into detail. So if you haven't seen Hamilton, I would hold off on listening to this and you just kind of go back to a few of the other podcasts and go there until you see Hamilton. Or if you don't really care, then listen, and we're going to share our opinions about what we thought about the movie or the production. And we're just going to kind of jump right into it. So, again, for those first timers, if this is your first time listening to my Disney Brain, thank you very much for joining us. Please make sure that you subscribe to our podcast on whatever format you're listening to it on and click whatever alert system there's there in terms of a bell. So the next time we upload, you'll know that my Disney Brain has new content and you'll be the first to be able to listen. For those of you who have listened multiple times, thank you for continuing to come back. We do appreciate it. Thank you so much. Both of you can continue to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and make sure if you're not already done so, subscribe to our blog. So that all out of the way, let's get into it. I have the girls in the studio with me today. So hello, Imani.
Hello.
And hello, Nia.
Good morning.
All right. It is not morning, but that is her thing. So, okay. What we want to do is just kind of give you our feedback on Hamilton. Now, we did not see Hamilton in or on Broadway. So this was our first time for all of us, and we watched it together. And, of course, we streamed it on Disney Plus. So for those of you who are listening saying, hey, where did you see this? Disney Plus. So if you don't have Disney Plus, it's not an option for you. You would have to have Disney Plus in order to see it. Legally. I'm not talking about Cody and streaming and whatever else you do with Fire Sticks and whatever else is out there. But Disney Plus has advertised this for the last 30 days. Came out yesterday. It was a really big deal. And it was really worth the watch. So here's the way we'll start. Let's just get a general feel for how everybody thought about the production. And then I'll get into a little history. Because quite honestly, if I'm being completely transparent, I knew very little about Alexander Hamilton. Now, of course, you discuss people like Hamilton in school. I haven't been in school in a number of years. And so some of that information didn't stick. I generally knew who he was, but the production brought out a lot that I didn't know, which has created a level of interest in me to go back now and to not only investigate some of the information to learn more, but also other people who were in the cast. So my overall feeling was I was pleasantly surprised. I remember when Hamilton first came to Broadway, I was listening to Howard Stern one morning. He was berating the idea of this hip hop, modern day Broadway. Like, why is it on Broadway? This is really silly. Da, da, da. And then after it came out and, Page Six and all these other write-ups started raving about it, he changed his tune, and so did everybody else. And it has become one of the more popular, if not the most popular, stage play that I know of outside of Lion King. And so I was enthusiastic about seeing it because I just wanted to see what the hype was about. Mm-hmm. I didn't really know his story, so I didn't really know where it was going. I don't particularly like a lot of singing, but I said, let me just give it a go. And I'm glad that I did. So what did you guys think?
I think it's very ironic that you don't like a lot of singing and you love Disney. Also,
all Disney movies don't have a lot of singing.
Is incorrect. Yes, they do.
No. Pirates of the Caribbean, there's absolutely no singing.
And they have a whole
The Haunted
soundtrack.
Mansion, I don't have to listen. Every movie has a soundtrack, but it's not like The Sound of Music. It's not like everybody's breaking out into song. Like every time they get in the ship, they're not breaking into song. So, yeah, there's a lot of, every movie has a soundtrack. But anyway, go ahead.
I thought, just like, I'm not obviously as up in age as you are, but I also have not been in school in quite some time to remember anything about Alexander Hamilton. So the story in and of itself was brand new to me again, in a sense. But I feel like you do not have to be a historian or an enthusiast to enjoy the production, because I thought it was really good. It just goes to show that my dreams of being a rapper are still very, very doable. I just need a great ghostwriter, because the music was awesome. The music was very, very good. The acting was very good. I thought the use of everybody on stage was really good in terms of like some of the quote unquote effects that you would kind of expect in a movie,
right,
that they were able to pull off with just people on a stage was done very, very well.
And it was in a small space. It wasn't a huge stage.
Yeah, and there wasn't a whole lot of people in the cast.
I thought there was a lot for that small space.
But then
they
at
were
the
coming
end,
and going and coming.
When you see all the cast members, you're like, oh, that's it?
Well, maybe it was because it was a small space. I thought it was more than that, because they were crisscrossing that stage and it was moving and twisting. And I thought, man, if you step one wrong way, you can lose your balance.
It was a very well put on production overall. I think it was very entertaining. You learned a lot, but it kept your interest. And I think because it's hip hop oriented, it's rap oriented, it forces you to listen with a purpose so that you can follow the story, as opposed to like maybe sometimes you may tune in and out if you're watching a movie. But I thought it was really good. I thought it was very well written. It was very creative. So yeah, I think it was really good. It was just long, but I mean, it's a show. So I mean, more plays tend to be longer than featured films. But I enjoyed it.
Okay. Yeah.
I am riding in the same boat with you guys. I enjoyed it. I think I enjoyed the more so uniqueness of it, because I don't watch a whole bunch of plays, but for the ones I know about and the ones I do see, I haven't seen any portrayed like this. And I think that the way they went about it was especially great for this younger generation, because usually people of the like Gen Z generation, they wouldn't watch this and it doesn't keep attention that great.
Yeah.
So considering...
This moved pretty quickly.
Yeah, and considering you use like quick movements and like our kind of music, it's kind of
It kind of grabs you at the beginning with
and
the
that's
music,
the thing.
And it kept moving. It was like you didn't have a chance to get up and want to go to the restroom because it was moving.
Well, you got that 1 minute intermission.
Well, no.
Right.
Well, yeah, but technically, in a stage play, they would have obviously given you more. But what I mean is, they got you into the story quick because from a writing point of view and from a theatrical point of view, let's say with a movie, they say you have about 5 to 7 minutes to capture your audience, and if you don't do it then you're going to lose them. That's why you see when movies are doing their credits and stuff now at the beginning, they're going through the story. You remember Up? You know how Up, you pretty much knew that guy by the time he said his first word because you saw his whole life, play in those slides while they were, putting the credits through.
Yeah.
And so that was capturing you. So you were invested already into this poor guy by the time he even said a word or the little guy knocked on his door. So it's kind of like going through the queue and attraction at Disney parks, where by the time you get on the attraction, you already know was because you were in the queue and you went through that piece and they've kind of got you there. But I interrupted you. But go ahead.
All right, let me regather my thoughts. But
we were just saying how it captured you as you came in. You were liking the music.
Yeah, you need that with certain people watching. But going back to it being filmed in a small space, for the first 10 seconds, I was skeptical of that because I didn't really know how that was going to work. So I was just kind of watching. But I think they did a great job with that, especially for everything that happened. I was like, okay. Yeah,
so we've all done productions before in terms of we've gone to the Fox to see a stage play. I kept thinking, man, if this is this good on TV, on Disney Plus, because so we were, I want to say it was in 4K. If it wasn't, it was very high def. So we have a 4K TV, and I can't remember because sometimes with Disney Plus and a couple other streaming, you can get 4K. I don't remember if this was 4K or not, but it was very clear and it was very crisp, and the lighting and the it was excellent. It was absolutely excellent. All right, so generally speaking, we all liked it. So here's what I want to do. Let's kind of talk about some of the stuff we didn't know, which is basically who he was, where he came from, and why he was important. We knew the time period. We knew what was going on because they introduced characters like George Washington. You understand that he was fighting. They introduced characters like the King of England. You knew that these group of men had left to come to this country, establish a new country in his namesake. But then they decided, hey, we don't want to do that. We're tired of being under this tyranny. So we gathered some information off of the History website, History Channel website, and I just want to share with those of you who may be like us. We didn't really know a whole lot about Alexander Hamilton. So let's talk about it real quick. First of all, he was born in the British West Indies. And he made his reputation during the Revolutionary War. He became one of America's most influential founding fathers. He was impassioned, a champion of strong federal government, and he played a key role in defending ratifying the U.S. Constitution, which they go into great detail in the actual production play. He was the first Secretary of the U.S. Treasury. He built a financial foundation for the new nation against fierce opposition from his arch rival, Thomas Jefferson. Now, in recent years, we began to learn in the African American community more about people like Thomas Jefferson for other reasons because of Sally, oh my God, it just left out of my mind, how he had a separate set of kids because of the relationship he had with the slaves that he owned, the fact that he did own slaves. Mm-hmm. So, but Hamilton, not so much. Not saying that he didn't own slaves. They didn't go into that piece of it, but I'm just saying we knew about Thomas Jefferson. We began to learn more about him. Now, the difference between the two men would help shape the nation's first political parties that we did learn about. Because a lot of folks don't know that, like today, most minorities, I shouldn't say most, from an African American standpoint, the Democratic Party seems to be occupied by more African Americans. Well, years past, it was the exact opposite. Republicans is where African Americans were, and then they really changed their stance on a lot of stuff, and of course the parties kind of switched philosophies, and then here we are today. So anyway, Hamilton was outspoken. He had a polarizing style of politics, and this limited his career prospects. And in 1804, he was killed in a duel by, I don't know if you want to call this guy his friend, certainly an acquaintance because they knew each other their whole lives, Aaron Burr. He was a longtime political foe. Mm-hmm. Now, here's one of the things I will tell you. I was like, seriously, a duel?
Yeah, I didn't know that.
That was a lot.
I didn't know he was killed in a duel. I would have assumed that he died of like chicken pox or something like that, considering the times. But yeah, I wasn't expecting
this is a
that.
thing. Like, seriously, his son, and we're going to get into that, his son was also killed in a duel. I was like, what did you just say? Like, all right, I want to duel you, and you just go out and just have it and somebody else.
He used to watch Westerns. That's not a uncommon thing that was done up until, like, you know, I don't know.
I guess Westerns. It just wasn't in my. I just thought these are highly educated men for their time. They had come through these wars. They had fought together. They were very educated, and to try to solve something with a duel, I just thought
very educated people now who like resolve things on Twitter. So you know, same thing.
Well, it's really not the same thing.
I think their way was probably a lot more simpler. They probably like, you know what, we're not getting along. One of us has to go, and that's what they came up with.
But here's the thing. No, but here's where I disagree. Here's the thing. They never got along. They were always at opposition. And even he and Jefferson were at opposition. I mean, they hated each other. But the reason why Burr wanted this duel was because he was so outdone with Hamilton, because Hamilton put his support behind Jefferson as opposed to Burr for the next president. Yeah. And Jefferson and Hamilton hated each other. So, I don't know. I guess I was just taken aback that people were dueling. It just seemed a little ridiculous. But that was the time. So anyway, let me just give you a little bit more history on Hamilton. He was born, they say they don't really know, either 1755 or 1757 in the Caribbean, the Isle of, I think it's pronounced Nevis, Nevis, Nevis. His father was a Scottish trader named James Hamilton, mother Rachel Fawcett Levine, and they weren't married, which is why they kept referring to him as a orphan, or what did they keep calling him anything?
A bastard.
A bastard. Or who was the orphan then? Burr was the orphan.
They both were orphans because his mother died and his father left.
Okay. All right. So they were not married. Now, Hamilton's father, as you're saying, abandoned them in 1766, and the mother died 2 years later. There was a clerk hired in a trading company in St. Croix when he was just 11. So he began working very early. He gained wider attention after he published an eloquent letter describing a hurricane that had hit the island in 1772. One of the things you'll find out throughout the production was that he loved to write. That was his power, I think. Mm-hmm. I think sometimes he used it and wielded it in a chaotic and destructive manner. Mm-hmm. Particularly when he did what he did in terms of the improprieties with his marriage, infidelity with his wife, and then publishing that document. That was like bananas crazy.
Yes.
But I don't know. I don't know what his state of mind was. I just think he was a super intense guy, the way that they're portraying him. And he just went after whatever he wanted. And at the time, and so he just did whatever.
I think at that time, in regards to that, people were, or at least men in particular, were more prideful and more concerned with their names than anything else.
Yeah.
So his thing was, well, if I put it all out there, what else can you say about me?
And he didn't want them to have any ammunition against him.
Yeah.
So he said, I'm going to publish it so you can't hold this over my head and, take my vote or, try to control me in some sort of way. So anyway, that's a little history on him. Obviously, that's not his whole history. You're going to have to either watch the play, go see the play, or both watch the play and do like we're doing and go backwards and do some research to kind of suss out some of the stuff that you hear. Because I always tell the girls, I always tell my kids, don't believe anything anyone tells you. Take the time to go and verify for yourself, and especially in today's age when people just say anything from any platform, high or low, and there's so much social media going on. People can post something, and all of a sudden it becomes, gospel. Suss it out. Make sure, it's the best information you have. What I do from a work standpoint, from a career standpoint, I do quite a bit of work with federal government. And when we are trying to determine best practices or best quality, for a particular requirement, what we normally do is get 3 different quotes from a particular company. Let's say, for example, if you wanted someone to do your hair, then you would say, okay, somebody says, I can do your hair for $160. And you may say, oh, that's really high. This is really high. So how do you know? This is just your opinion. But if you go to 2 other similar beauty salons and you ask them and they all give you quotes in that same range, then your summation must be, then this is what normal. It normally costs. Either the price has gone up or my expectations were off par. But I'm looking at 3 different companies. They don't have anything in common. They don't know each other. So they're not in collusion. This must be what it costs to get hair done. So it's the same with information. If you go out to a weather station and someone says a hurricane is about to hit Miami, and you go to other weather stations and there's no hurricane on their map, you got to say, what is happening with these guys that show a hurricane, these guys are not. So anyway, the point is this. There's, in history, a lot of times information is left out. Some new information is introduced, and history can be changed and rewritten by whoever the interpreters are. So just make sure that you are validating as much as possible and seeking out the information from reputable sources, which we are trying to do here. Now, what we're doing here is just giving you our opinion. This is not going to be written in any history books. We're just telling you what we thought about the production. But what we will do is kind of go back, look through different sites, and maybe even look through different books just to learn more about this guy, because I feel like that would sort of solidify the whole production. You know what I'm saying? You saw a production. That doesn't really mean you know everything you need to know about that time period. What it did, it opened up questions about a lot of things. I had no idea this guy even having all these affairs. I was like,
well,
it was one affair.
It wasn't one
no,
affair.
it wasn't one.
But affairs were pretty common.
Well, affairs are common now. Yes. But what I'm saying is I just didn't know about it. And the relationship he had with George Washington.
Yeah, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, that was interesting. The relationship that he had with Jefferson, with Burr, all of these things. So let's do this. Here's what we realized. So just as an FYI, we went and pulled up the cast because we wanted to know the names of some of these great individuals who were acting in this play. And we realized that the Disney Plus stream was a different cast than the Broadway cast. Maybe you knew that. Maybe you did not.
Yep.
But if you just go pull up and Google Hamilton cast, you're not going to find, for example, Lin-Manuel Miranda, who plays Alexander Hamilton.
Yeah.
This is a different guy than the production cast that's on Broadway. In the same way.
They put an Aunt Viv on us.
Oh,
and
yeah.
We didn't even know it. We didn't even know it.
The same way with Leslie Odom Jr., who plays Aaron Burr. And I'm going to kind of squeeze this in. I kept looking at Leslie Odom. Now, mind you, I am not someone who is up on any type of recent pop culture.
At all.
Ever.
I do not care for any of this music.
Ever.
Any of these musicians on social media, any of that. So it is completely out of my purview. But as I saw this guy, I said, that guy looks familiar. Like, where have I seen this guy?
Brace yourselves.
And who did I say I thought he was?
You thought it was Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah. And so the girls looked at me like...
Now, mind you, he's talking about the guy. If you've ever watched TV, the guy, he's a black man. He's a singer, and he has done nationwide commercials.
Well, Leslie Odom Jr. is his name.
Yes, that is his name. But I'm giving people a visual if they don't recall the name in particular. That's who he thought was Kendrick Lamar.
This is not right even for you.
Well, okay. Let's just say I don't know who Kendrick Lamar is. But for some reason, the name came to mind. I thought he was relatively new, popular guy. Outside of Cardi, I don't really know anybody. And so, but anyway, that's beside the point. So here are some of the main characters, and let's talk about what we thought about some of the main characters. So let's start off with the obvious.
Yes.
Well, before we do that, let me ask you a question.
Okay.
Who was your favorite character?
Well, did he play multiple characters? I'm just trying to. Okay, yes, he did. He played multiple characters, and it was the same person who played Thomas Jefferson and the
David
French
Diggs.
friend, David Diggs. He's just funny to me. And David Diggs, for those who don't know, plays the Bo's little brother on Blackish.
And he plays on Snowpiercer too.
Okay, I haven't seen that, but I have seen Blackish. And even seeing him on the stage, he's a great actor. But he's just funny. Like he brings comedy to it. It's funny. So he was really good, and the English King was really good. Even though his part was so small in the grand thing, in the grand scheme of things, the king was pretty hilarious.
I hope that saliva was part of it. No, I think what he was trying to do was to demonstrate the insanity that was of King George III. Because if you listen to the narrative, it was complete insanity. He's like, I'll kill your family to show my love for you. I mean, these are complete contrasting ideas, but it shows more than likely someone who has had a lifetime of power, his miscalculation and misunderstanding of people who just wanted to be free of simple tyranny. But anyway, so you said David Diggs was your guy. He played Marquis de Lafayette.
Yes.
And he also played Thomas Jefferson.
Yes.
And the one thing I'll say about him is he was funny.
Yes.
But the thing that he was a complete. What I mean is, he rapped in Blackish. So he has very good timing and very good rhythm. And he's somewhat of a comic. So they couldn't have picked a better person to play this. So who was your favorite character, Nia?
Thomas Jefferson was definitely one, but I feel like watching him and the guy who played Alexander Hamilton go at it, that was funny for me.
Rap battles.
Yes, that was hilarious.
Not your favorite part, your favorite character.
Well, those two just like together were funny for me.
So Hamilton and
Thomas Jefferson.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I thought you would say one of the ladies.
Honestly, they didn't really do a big part for me because I kind of felt bad for his wife because she was between his wife and then what was going on with her sister. I was like, oh, this is a lot.
Whoever played the sister, she was good.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if they name her.
She was good. Like her
Jessica something, I think.
Her singing and her rapping, like she was her execution was very good.
She was beautiful.
Yeah.
She was drop dead gorgeous, and she could sing. I was a little confused at the relationship.
Basically, it's from what I gather, she fell in love with Jefferson first, but still introduced him to her sister.
That part I got, but I wonder if there was anything nefarious going on
I
afterwards.
don't think so. I think they would have said it because throughout the story, she proclaims her love for him, but still says, I love my sister more than anything, and I know that he won't find anyone better than her, and I'll choose her over me every time.
Right.
But they had no problem going into his other affair. So I don't think there was any sort of physical affair between the sister and Jefferson.
A mental thing. Well, I tell you what, I did enjoy her. I thought she was very, very attractive, and I thought she sang so well, and she could go from rapping to singing and back,
really
and
seamlessly.
It was very seamlessly done. And I was like, are they shooting all this in one
Right. Is
shot?
she breathing?
I mean, are they cutting this? I kept thinking, surely somebody's missing a word or something.
Right.
But if they did cut it, I don't know where they did because everything was going so fast.
Yeah.
That I don't know. I dare say they went to, was it 3.5 hours, and nobody made an error.
I don't think it was 3.
I'm about to say the show itself is not 3.5 hours.
It was around 2
It was about
hours.
maybe 2 hours and some change.
Oh
Yeah.
my God! I thought it was closer
No,
to 4.
it felt really long, but it was not 3 hours.
Are you sure?
Yes.
If we're wrong, then we're wrong. But I don't think it was 3 hours.
Okay, we'll settle at closer to 3 because oh my God,
Maybe
I could've
2.5.
sworn-
Let's just go
I
with
could have
2.5.
sworn it was.
It was
okay.
it was very long.
It was long, but it was worth it. So I don't
Yeah.
want to deter anyone. Who's
It wasn't like Gone with the Wind long. Let's just clarify.
But here's the other thing: it was full of action.
Movement, yeah.
It was moving very quickly. The only way that we know how long it was because we paused it one time and we saw
We were like smack in the middle.
yeah.
It was like an hour and a half
left.
passed, and then it was like an hour and a half left to go.
Yeah, we were like, God. All right, so my favorite character was the guy who I thought was, what did I say? Kendrick Lamar? Leslie Odom Jr., who played
played
Aaron
Burr,
Burr.
yeah.
And actually, to me, he carried the show. He was
Yeah.
the narrator in many ways.
Yeah.
He was a facilitator. Because remember, he was the one who introduced Hamilton to Lafayette
Yeah.
and those guys to begin with. He really facilitated a lot of that interaction between Hamilton and some other folk. And he would give Hamilton advice
Yeah.
on how to do this, speak less, smile more, those sorts of things. And I really thought he did a great job. So if anybody was getting an award for the best supporting actor, this guy should have did it. He did mention early on, hey, I'm the one who shot him, which makes you kind of think throughout the entire production because you got
Like, how did we get here?
Yeah, how did we get there? I thought y'all was cool because y'all hanging out in the bar, and all of a sudden you say, I am the one who shot him. So I'm like, this is going to go south like, Brutus and Caesar situation. So you watch throughout, and then you see their relationship mature, and then you see it kind of take a turn, and then you can kind of see it where it was going because Burr really got crazy with power
Jealousy.
and jealousy and the envy later on, and he was willing to pretty much do anything to get that presidency. And I think that's what scared Hamilton. He was like, you don't really care about anything except for you. At least Jefferson has a stance on something that's going to benefit people. You just really care about you. And
I don't know. I feel like he's one of the better villains, and like
Burr,
yeah, like to
I wouldn't
me,
really call him a villain.
well, technically by definition, yes, because he's the antagonist. But I feel like I'm somebody who can appreciate a great villain. Like I love a great villain, and I feel like he was a great villain in a way that you could understand him. You could understand where his pride came from and where his insecurities came from and how he became the person to kill Jefferson. In a way, it makes you kind of feel bad for him that he
I can see
didn't
that.
see his importance throughout the duration of the play. Because, like you said, without him, Jefferson wouldn't have met these people. He wouldn't have got a lot of places that he did. But he felt like it should have been him.
Yeah.
And he didn't realize that he was still a key role in the making of this country. And so it
Yeah.
kind of ended up the way that it did. But I think he was a great villain in the grand scheme of it.
Well, I only hesitate of calling him a villain because he, in my opinion, didn't play a villain the entire movie. Like, he wasn't like Scar. Scar was Scar from the first scene. He's a villain. Ursula, she was a villain. This guy, he was very similar to Hamilton. They had the same types of exploits. They had the same types of ambition. They went to the same school. They both were lawyers. They were trying to help each other kind of get up the ladder and do these sorts of things. But as you could see, he started getting jealous of Hamilton. He's like, I wanted to be in the room.
Yeah.
I wanted to be at the table. I wanted to do these sorts of things. And the more things started happening for Hamilton, the less started happening for him. Then he started like, why isn't this happening for me?
Yeah.
I want to, be that person also.
It does make me question now this entire play. When in America did murder become illegal? Because obviously no one went to jail for any of these duels.
Or at least not in Jersey.
Well,
Because everything's legal in Jersey.
Well, listen, we'll have to suss that out. I do not know, but I have to think on some level, in the organized territories, there were always laws. You know that Deadwood is one of my favorite shows from HBO. The absolute best show HBO have ever done is Deadwood, for those of you who are listening. And in the Dakotas, for people who went out west to seek for gold, they were outside of the organized territory, so they were not incorporated. They were not part of the United States. So there was no law. But that's not where they were during this period.
Right, they were in New York.
They're in New York. So that's why I was so caught aback at, like, you can just go out in the street and start turning around and shooting each other. Like, is there no authority? Like,
well,
and they were politicians.
I about to say the doctor is there, so he couldn't be held liable, but you could say that you tried to save him.
Right.
Well, I don't know.
They had lawyers there to try and speak on behalf. Like, this was a process. A duel was a process, and it was intentional.
Maybe it was customary, and people were okay with it. And over time, it became just like many things. It became barbaric. People started reaching higher levels of understanding and consciousness, like we are doing now. And people are saying, probably we should take this Confederate stuff down. This is not,
We don't have to shoot. It's not a duel.
Yeah. We don't
can
have
talk this out.
But you know what? So back to my earlier statements at the beginning of the podcast. They were both potentially in line to be the president.
Yeah.
And then they settled with a duel?
Well, they still got like the same emotions everybody else does. And some people just react certain ways, and all of them are prideful.
No,
so it's
I don't accept that. I don't accept that.
Listen.
I don't accept that. Here's what I'm telling you. Now, I'm not saying you're wrong. The reason I say I don't accept it is because it's unacceptable. If you are in line, this guy was Secretary of the Treasury, meaning he was the first person to be responsible for the monies of the United States.
Yeah.
He went to great lengths. He published that pamphlet based on his honor. He was trying to protect his honor, his name. He wanted what he kept saying? A legacy.
Yeah.
He wanted people to know he was honorable. He said, no, I didn't steal no money. The money I'm paying this lady is because I got set up, but it ain't come from the Treasury. It came from me. So I don't want you to think I'm taking it from the people to give to her. I'm paying her. So it's like, I mean, I do drugs, but I don't do no cocaine. You know what I mean?
I do drugs. That kind of I don't sell it. But
I do drugs. I don't sell it. I ain't crazy. That kind of stuff.
Us here at My Disney Brain, we do not condone the use of drugs or selling or possession. Continue.
Yeah. So my point is this. He went to great lengths to make sure his name and his legacy was purified. And then you can't listen.
Would that be purified, though?
No. Well, okay, purified may be a different word. But he wanted to protect it. Now, his actions, as many of our actions do throughout life, contradict what we say. That goes for everybody.
Yes.
You can say on one hand, hey, I don't lie, and then you put in a position to test that, and next thing you know, no, you don't have to. But it feels better for you to do it. It's easier choice than telling the truth because either you don't want to hurt somebody's feelings or you just don't want to deal with it right now. Yeah. It's just easier just to say, you know what, I was busy that night. That's why I didn't want to go. But the point is, your integrity is going to be tested. And so his integrity was tested. He failed on multiple occasions with these women that we know of. Could have been hundreds more. But when it came down to it, he went to great lengths to try to protect his legacy, i.e. his name. And then at the end of the day, my point is this. He seemed to want to have a high level of integrity.
Yes.
And that's the type of person that I would say needs to be commander-in-chief, unlike our current day situation. You need to have a person of high moral integrity. And a person of high moral integrity, in my opinion, doesn't engage in dueling. It just
maybe
seems
at the time.
Yeah, it's a time period thing. Yes. I get that.
At the time, maybe dueling, like I said, but as it was portrayed, this was a process.
It was
you
customary.
Had to get a doctor. You had to have a representative. There were two chances for people to try and compromise. So really, I felt like they felt like, okay, this is the most eloquent thing we can do. We done tried to talk this out. We got lawyers involved. We got, we trying to make sure nobody really dies. And then you see at the end, Hamilton didn't intend to shoot him.
Yeah, that was the other thing. That's what I was going to try and say. I said, I think it was a way for him to get out of life. Yeah. Like, he was
tired.
He was tired. Like, it's enough already. And I think after his son, which he gave the worst advice to in the world.
Yeah, no, that was terrible.
Assuming it's correct, assuming it's, historically correct, it was the worst advice. Literally the worst advice.
Yeah. You should just told him not to go.
Yeah, right. Just say don't go. Don't go. If you love him that much, you send him out. Listen, there's more than a 50-50 chance he's going to get killed. Because the other person, I assure you, is not thinking he going to shoot now.
But his whole thing was like, if he's an honorable man and he sees you up at the sky, I was like, you don't know who you're playing with.
I'm like, if you that honorable, you're not getting ready to do this dude. You come to me like yesterday and be like, listen, man, just forget it.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
Listen, it ain't that big a deal. Ain't no sense of, wasting no bullets. Let's just be done. Yeah, go and just shoot up in the air and he'll see that this. No, man.
And my thing is like, if you're at a duel, the way they did it was like you turn around and shoot. No one's going to wait.
Nobody would have noticed that his gun was in the air.
Well, again, that's why it's the worst advice ever. Because if like you said, if he had waited, he'd have saw it up in there, then maybe he would have been like, hey, what is that dude doing? But he's trying to protect himself.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe he didn't want to shoot, but he don't want to get shot either. I guarantee you. People don't want to get shot more than they don't want to shoot. So he's going to err on the side that's going to protect him. And that was a really traumatic scene because, they're bringing the mom and the kids still alive. And that was a tough one. And you could tell, at least during the play, that it had a tremendous effect on him.
Yeah.
His life seemed to be spiraling out of control. He lost his son, and then he lost his wife. He was pretty much on his own again, and he had pretty much constructed all of this was of his own doing.
Yeah.
And so there's really no worse condition to be in than some saboteur. You created a life that you wanted, then you destroyed it all in the same lifetime.
Yeah.
So it was very interesting, but I said all that to say that I thought Leslie Odom Jr. did a fantastic job, and I agree with both of you guys that this guy, David Diggs, really brought an element to it that I didn't see coming.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed it because I kind of felt like we were watching a play, but it wasn't really like a play. Like it was.
It's not traditional.
It was a little untraditional, which was fine. Mm-hmm. I was okay with the movements. I was okay with the music and the pace of the music and stuff like that. And, they brought in a lot of pop culture references. Like there was a Grandmaster Flash reference. There was a couple references that came in that I picked up on. I thought, okay, this is they're trying to reach a couple different audiences here and be really hip. All right, so those are our favorite characters, and the guy who played King George III was a guy named Jonathan Groff. Groff.
I couldn't pay attention to him.
He did a good job. He was really funny.
Yeah. So let's do this real quick. So we're gonna tell you where these guys, you may have seen them before. So the main character who played Alexander Hamilton is a gentleman named, and I hope I'm saying this right, it is spelled Lin, Lin dash Manuel. So Lin-Manuel Miranda, Miranda. You've seen him. Well, he wrote, created, and starred in the musical Hamilton, which I didn't know that. This says that he was the creator. That's why he was there, not the people in the thing. Okay. That makes sense. So he wrote, created, and starred in the musical Hamilton.
Oh, he did a great job.
He's won numerous prizes, including a Pulitzer and 11 Tonys. Bam. He did an awesome job.
He did.
But prior to Hamilton, he was on a Broadway musical called In the Heights, which is now being made into a film. And, of course, he is the star. He also starred as a lamplighter named Jack in Mary Poppins Returns. He's wrote and performed music for Disney film Moana. Okay, so he's a seasoned guy.
Yes, with Disney.
Very, very smart. So Burr is an actor. He played Burr. Leslie Odom Jr. played Burr. You've seen him. This actor and singer won the 2016 Tony Award for Best Actor in a Musical for his role in, this movie, The Hamilton, as Burr. In addition, he has had several television appearances. He starred in films including Murder on the Orient Express. Oh, yeah.
He was on Murder on the
Oh,
Orient
I know who
Express?
that was.
Yeah.
Wasn't he like the doctor or somebody? No, he wasn't the doctor.
No, he
We
wasn't the
saw
doctor.
this
This is a
movie.
different guy.
Now I'm curious because we saw this movie and we
Yeah.
like this movie.
Yeah, I don't think he had a long. Wait a minute. You know what it is? He is a doctor. It said he played Doctor Arbuthnot, Arbuthnot, and he and a lady named Harriet, I think, were in a relationship. But I think he was heavier. Something was different about it because there was only one black guy on that
Right.
cast. It was, according to this, it was him.
Okay.
Oh, wait a minute. I'm looking at. Is that the right thing? Yeah, it's the right one. I just want to make sure they switched the picture up. But yeah, so he played on Murder in the Orient Express. So now, guess what we'll be doing? Looking at Murder in the Orient Express to see like.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah. So Eliza Schuler, who is the wife of Hamilton, was played by a lady named Philippia So, Soo. Sue. Is it So or Sue?
I would assume that phonics would tell me that's Sue.
Sue. Because So is S-O. Sue Book.
S-O-W.
Look. So, I don't know. Her name is spelled S-O-O.
There we go.
Where have you seen her? She's a Tony nominee. She's voiced characters in Moana. Probably where she knew this guy from, how she got on to the thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
And originated various Broadway roles, including Natasha Rostova of Natasha, Pierre in the Great Comic of 1812, and the title role in Amelie. I don't know any of those, but it seems like a Broadway type thing.
Yeah, she
like
has
if
a
you're
resume.
She has a resume. If you're in stage plays, you would know some of these. So let's see. Oh, I think this is the lady we were trying to figure out what her name was. So the sister is Angelica Schuler. Mm-hmm. She was played by. They don't have a picture of her here. I don't know why. She was played by a lady named Renee Ellis Goldsberry. She's the elder sister of Elizabeth, and she's his sister-in-law to Hamilton. So this is the lady we were talking about earlier. She's an actress who won a Tony for her role in Hamilton, deservedly so, and also originated the role of Nettie Harris in the original Broadway cast of The Color Purple. I didn't know
wow.
that. Her television credits include One Life to Live, The Good Wife, and Netflix sci-fi, I don't know why I said sci-fi series Altered Carbon. I gotta go watch that.
She's on The Good Wife?
That's what I said. It seemed like I would have seen her. She must have looked different or hair different or something. Huh. One Life to Live, I never would have seen that.
Wait, One Life to Live.
That's a soap opera, right?
I do believe that is a soap opera.
Yeah. The guy who played George Washington, who kept reminding me of Cory Booker, his name is Christopher Jackson.
He does look like Cory Booker.
Yeah, he really did.
He just looks like a heavier Cory Booker.
And a little lighter. He didn't have the crazy eyes. So where have you seen Christopher before? He's also a Tony-nominated actor, singer, and composer, and a longtime collaborator of Mr. Marauders, who played Hamilton, having previously originated the role of Benny in The Heights. So maybe they met in The Heights, and provided the singing voice of Chief Tua, and guess where? Moana. And yeah. So, and lastly, Mr. Diggs. David Diggs played Thomas Jefferson and Marquise de Lafayette. And of course, we already said we saw Diggs before in Blackish, but Diggs won both a Grammy and a Tony for his dual role in Hamilton. Listen, I don't know why I'm thinking if these guys are winning all these awards, they must have been in the production at some point.
Yeah.
I don't know why now. I'm going to have to retract my earlier statement because evidently this was the original crew. Why, when you Google it and you pull up the Hamilton cast, these are not the same people.
Well, you know what? Maybe
there's cast.
altered, like just like how when we go to Disney and watch the Lion King show, there's 2 sets of casts. So maybe they're the main cast, and then maybe some nights they have the alters perform.
That could be it. That could be it. I just put in cast of Hamilton. I would figure if you wrote it and directed it and starred in it, they would have your picture there. But the guy they have up there is not Manuel. But anyway, doesn't matter. So Diggs also has TV and film, including Blackish, Snowpiercer, which I said, and Velvet Buzzsaw. We're going to put this link on our Facebook page, and you can go through and just kind of read it at your leisure. But overall, we did enjoy Hamilton. These are just some of our thoughts. So really quickly before we end, any last thoughts or would you recommend viewers to watch this? What would your recommendations be?
I would definitely recommend watching it at least once. I feel like if you are a bit of an enthusiast or historian, you will absolutely love it, maybe 10 times more than the average person will. But even if you're not, it's still very entertaining.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's most important. It's because, at the end of the day, it's a great story. And they portrayed it very well. It was executed very well. So I think it's definitely something worth watching. I would have liked to have, now that I've seen it, I definitely won't pass up the opportunity to see it live because I bet it's probably 10 times better seeing it in person.
I'll tell you one thing, though. I'm going to tell you what would be the drawback. If you don't see this crew.
Right. No, exactly.
That's what you're going to be disappointed with.
Yeah, because they did a great job. They did an awesome
I
job.
see why they got those Tonys. They did an awesome job.
They
Mia?
did.
I recommend people to watch this, but another thing, I feel like students should watch this because I've learned more from this one play than I probably would have learned in a unit.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Make it easy. Make it make sense.
That's a great point. I to Nia's point, I mean, if you have kids who are not very interested in history, this is certainly a way to get them interested because it met them at their level, I think, in terms of interest in music and things like that.
I thought, once you, watch the movie and a lot of the basis of it is who's going to tell your story when you're gone? Who's going to tell your story? And I just thought it was really ironic considering that we've pointed out learning more about Jefferson's past and some people probably in the African American community know more about Washington's past. I wonder how these people feel or how they would feel knowing that they're being portrayed by people that are not white. They're being portrayed by Puerto Ricans and black people and biracial people.
Yeah. So I don't know.
I love the diversity. The diversity is great.
The diversity makes it, for me, in terms of, I think that's what has drawn so much attention to it, along with the talent of the people that are in there. I think in this new age, I think in order to get with the Gen X and the millennials and stuff like that.
What? Gen X. That's what you're considered a Gen X. You're not a millennial.
I'm a Gen Z.
Gen Z. I think I said the wrong thing.
No, it's X, but I guess X makes the Z sound. Continue.
What?
Anyways.
Okay, anyway.
All right.
My point is, to grab their attention, I think the music and all that stuff plays a part, but I think the diversity, it paints the picture of where we're going, where we want to be, where really we should be already.
Yeah.
And so that's what makes it accommodating for everybody, because I think Black folks are just tired of sitting down watching white folks all the time. It is good to see yourself on stage.
Yeah.
And probably the same with Mexicans and Puerto Ricans. I mean, everybody should be able to see themselves. There's nothing wrong with that. We've spent so many years hearing white history from white people, seeing white people. So we know that part, but we only know part of that part. To be able to sit and see yourselves, that's a big deal. And I think now more than ever, people are beginning to understand that. And I said that a little aggressively. I don't want to feel like I'm upset with white people. That's not the issue. The thing is to understand that other cultures are involved in the building of this country, some more than others, free.
Yeah.
Free wages, if you will. And so we want to see our faces and our parts being played. But anyway, I don't want to get into that. Here's the thing. For me, I would recommend also, I thought it was great. I'm not a musical guy, but I really liked it. I was engaged from the beginning to the end. It has inspired some investigative learning on my end. Now that the production is done, my investigating starts. I begin to look at different websites, maybe look at ordering some books, and really read and begin to understand part of that history. Because I'll be honest with you, when you're in school, you learn history to pass the test, not to keep it in your head.
Absolutely.
And that's the thing. No one really cares. You remember it after.
Yeah. You can ask a kid, after they graduate high school, what war did what war did Washington win before he became president? If you find one that can tell you that.
He won something.
Right.
That would be my answer.
They know it for the test, but it doesn't stick and stay. And I think something like this, here's what I found, because I've watched kids my whole life. If you put something in a song, kids
That's because it's like
will
the rhythm.
remember it.
Yeah.
I don't care how sophisticated the lyrics. If you put it in a song, they will remember it and they will say, I've seen kids hear a song, and then an hour later they're repeating the whole song. But then they read a chapter in the book, you ask what they read, they don't know. So there was some value here for that. So if you're looking for a fun family flick, this is your movie to go to. And Nia made the best point in that if your kids are somewhat historically challenged and you want to get them engaged and involved, I think this is a good way to do so. What were you going to say?
You don't even have to be like historically challenged, because I had to touch on this a little in school. I don't remember anything I read, but like I could tell you this storyline.
And it may not be, it may just be that, you don't get the opportunity to go as in depth as the play did with certain topics in school. So
challenging mean that they're not interested.
Yeah. Well,
like when you begin
to
talk to a kid about the history of the United States, hey, let's talk about Civil War. Let's talk about Revolutionary War. Kids are going to look at you like, my God. Like their eyes are going to fall in the back of their head and they're literally going to die. So it's like that would be the most painful thing ever. But something like this introduces that subject matter to them in a way that's entertaining, and it can teach them. So we have to do what we can.
Very good. I like that.
Yeah, they did great. So guys, we're running on about 57 minutes at this point. I think we've given you enough information for you to make a good decision on watching it, and we hope that you will. We hope that you will continue to also listen to my Disney Brain podcast as we continue to pump out material and content each week. Again, you can like us and follow us and subscribe to us. Our website, mydisneybrain.com, BRAIN.com. Wherever you listen to this podcast, please lock us in. Turn on any alert or bell so you'll know the next time we upload. Like us on Facebook and also follow us on Instagram. Just a hint, on Instagram, every week we give away something. And this week, check out our Instagram post. There was the cutest little girl. Her name is Tori, and she won a book called Disney's Ideas Book. We gave away. It was our first giveaway, and she won it. She's out on the West Coast, and we're going to send that to her shortly. But her and her mom did such a great job with her Instagram page, and all you have to do is like our page, follow us, and share it. In this case, with one or more friends. So thank you again for sitting in and listening to us discuss our thoughts on Hamilton.
Yes.
And again, you will need Disney Plus to see it. So we hope that you're staying safe. We hope that you are wearing your mask and being compliant and all these good things. And you're excited as we are to see the parks reopening. So cross your fingers that everybody does what they're supposed to do so we get back to where we are supposed to be. So be well, and we will talk to you again next week. Thanks.